Well, week 9 around the Big Ten, pretty exciting. Penn State keeps pace, still perfect, but they may have lost their quarterback. We'll find out more later. Michigan State and Michigan, a fight at the end. Wolverines found a little fight in the game. Earlier, Ohio State had its hands full with Nebraska. Number 1, Oregon and Indiana State, perfect. It was a huge day around the Big Ten. We'll recap it all right here live on Locked On Big Ten Live. It starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten live here on a late Saturday night going into Sunday morning. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day, you everydayers that are with us throughout the week. Thank you very much. If you're new to us, welcome aboard. We're here. We're free wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get yourself started. So immediate reaction to week 9 right here, right now. We'll take your live comments if you're joining us live here on YouTube. Plus, we'll have all the Big Ten news throughout the day and the nation's first look at a very important week 10 coming up before we leave the airwaves here. So 2 games live here on national TV on Saturday night. We'll cover them both here, and then we'll get to everybody. Penn State just went final at Wisconsin. This was a tough game. Penn State wins at 28-13 to improve to 7-0 in this game. By the way, a rematch of the 2016 Big Ten title game back in the day. And the Badgers got off to a pretty good start. 3-0 lead, had the 50-yard field goal. And Penn State seemed to be on the move early on. Remember, Ohio State transfer Julian Fleming dropped a perfect pass early on. Probably might have scored on that play. Definitely would have put Penn State in a good scoring position. And then on 4th and 1, Drew Aller fumbled the snap. Wisconsin recovered. But again, that's where we're at. Wisconsin 3-0 over Penn State at this point. Now, Penn State, they started doing what they do. 9-play, 90-yard drive that went into the second quarter. Drew Aller found Nicholas Singleton for a 6-yard touchdown, and Penn State takes a 7-3 lead at that point. Now, late in the second quarter, Brandon Locke, he missed Jackson Aker in the end zone with about 1:30 to go. Tried a similar play the next play, but Penn State had 12 men on the field. And then Tawi Walker, who's been doing great for Wisconsin, scored a touchdown, his 10th of the year. It was a 10-play, 73-yard drive to take the lead. Wisconsin up 10-7 at this point. It was power, Big Ten power running football, the old-fashioned Wisconsin way. Fullback Jackson Aker, who we mentioned a moment ago on that touchdown, blocked 2 different guys on the way into the end zone on one play. It was fantastic. Now, late in the half, this is crucial. This may be crucial for the rest of the season, too. Drew Aller took a sack, then a couple of incomplete passes. They're 3 and out. They got to punt the ball back to Wisconsin, but Drew Aller limps back to the sideline and then limps back into the locker room. More on that in just a second. Wisconsin had the ball 38 seconds to go. 3 timeouts. But anyway, they end up going into the locker room up 10-7 over Penn State, thinking upset, right? Drew Aller comes out with a humongous brace on his left leg. Tries to give it a go. Tries to step into a couple throws. He can't do it. He starts tearing up. He's out. Bo Pribula, who has a lot of playing time, comes in as the backup quarterback. And but at this point, from the end of the first half into the beginning of the second half, Penn State, they've punted like 5 straight times. They don't look like a lot's going right at this point. But then Wisconsin quarterback Braden Locke lets Penn State off the hook. He throws a pick 6, 19-yard touchdown to Jalen Reed. And Penn State, like that, takes the lead 14-10, 6:29 to go in the third quarter. That was a critical play there. The next drive, Braden Locke, he found C.J. Williams for a big 33-yard pass to midfield that ultimately set up a 32-yard field goal that got him within 1. So Penn State's still up, but Wisconsin scores. It's 14-13 now. late in the third. We go to the fourth quarter. Penn State starts using Ty Warren a lot more. He's their Mr. Everything secret weapon. He's a tight end. He catches balls. He played quarterback in high school. He'll go under center. He'll throw play, a touchdown. He'll do it all. He'll do it. And he can run the ball. So he starts taking some shotgun snaps. They start mixing it up a little bit. And then Khalil Jennings has a 1-yard touchdown catch from Prabula, who came back in. And it capped off a nice 13-play, 81-yard drive that took almost 8 minutes. Think about it. Penn State has lost their starting quarterback up to this point. They took a minute to get organized, and now they're rolling. Up 21 to 13. 10 minutes ago, they got an 8-point lead. That drive right there felt like that broke Wisconsin's back. That felt like the game-winning drive. Ultimately, it was. Later on, Katron Allen added a 24-yard touchdown on another long 9-play, 76-yard drive. Penn State up 28-13. That ends up being the final score. Love to hear from you, Penn State fans. If you want to hit us up on the comments here, watching live on YouTube. And how concerned are you? What do we think? It was good to see Drew Aller at least smiling and laughing on the sideline at the end. But, he started the half crying because he was like, man, I can't go. We got Ohio State next week. That's the big one. Will Penn State go into that game without their starting quarterback? It's a big deal. We'll be talking about it, keeping our eye on that all week here on Locked On Big Ten. So tune in for all the latest on that. Meanwhile, the other Saturday night game, it was on the Big Ten Network. It was actually a pretty tight game for the most part. First half was all Michigan State at Michigan, but they couldn't cash in with a lot of points. And even though they were outplaying Michigan wins this game 24-17. Michigan, who has had 3 starting quarterbacks this year, they went back to quarterback number 1 from back in the beginning. That Davis Warren got the call. Although Alex Orji was a factor in this game. But in the first quarter alone, Michigan State had 23 plays from scrimmage. Michigan had a 3-and-out and then a late play on the last play of the quarter. That was it. Total domination as far as total plays, time of possession for Michigan State, but they can't cash in. They missed the gimme field goal. Their kicker, who kicked, 6 field goals the other week, he ends up missing a 23-yarder. Unbelievable. In that first quarter, Michigan State had 135 yards. They had 10 red zone snaps, but they missed that field goal. They did get a touchdown. Nathan Carter on 4th and goal. They had to fight for it. 4th and goal from 2 yards out. Gets the touchdown. Michigan State up 7-0. That was a 9-play, 62-yard drive. So Michigan, this is how bad it was. Michigan doesn't even cross the 50 in the first half until 1:26 to go. And then they got going. They started putting it together. Got into the red zone. Davis Warren, a couple of nice passes. Donovan Edwards, a couple of nice runs. Davis Warren, a touchdown pass to Colson Loveland with 29 seconds to go in the half. By the way, he was wide open. A bad missed assignment by Michigan State on defense. So Michigan gets on the board, and they botch the extra point. And so it's 7-6. We think we're going to the locker room 7-6. Michigan State gets the ball 29 seconds ago. We think they're going to take a knee. Are they going to be conservative? What are they going to do? Well, they had a nice 14-yard play, which was just tempting enough to go, okay, let's get aggressive here. And then Aiden Childs was rolling out on the next play on the right side, and he doesn't see Josiah Stewart coming like a locomotive behind him, strip sacks him, ball comes loose. Michigan gets the ball back with 12 seconds to go on the 34-yard line. And then Davis Warren hits Donovan Edwards for a pass play to the 20, and they get a good field goal off before the end of the half, a 37-yard field goal. And Michigan then takes the lead 9-7 at the half. By the way, Davis Warren, 10 of 11 in the first half. Not bad for a team that's been struggling with the passing game, right? All right, and then Michigan gets the ball to start the second half, and they put together an 11-play, 75-yard drive, chews up 5 minutes. Alex Orji's coming off for a couple of plays in this drive, had a nice 29-yard run. Then he came back in for the 3rd and goal, scored a 2-yard touchdown. So like I told you at the beginning, Alex Orji was key in this game, even though he didn't start, even though he didn't play a lot. Change of pace quarterback like he used to be with J.J. McCarthy last year. Michigan's up 16-7 with 9:49 to go in the third at this point. There was the Monterey Foster catch from Aiden Childs under pressure, a 30-yard pass play for Michigan State down to the Michigan 46. They did the fake reverse. Nate Carter got 11 yards to the Michigan 35. 3rd and 1. Michigan's defense looked like last year's team. Stuffed the play. And then Michigan State had to settle for a Jonathan Kim field goal. Remember, he missed a 25-yarder earlier and a 23-yarder earlier in the game. This one he makes from 46, so it cuts Michigan's lead to 6, 16-10, 3:44 to go in the third. Then Michigan, Donovan Edwards, taking the pitch, stops, throws it down the sideline. The old halfback pass, 23-yard touchdown to Colston Loveland for T. We've seen Donovan Edwards do this before. Michigan State wasn't ready for it. So Michigan goes up 24-10 with the trick play with 13 minutes to go in the game. Quick 5-play drive, 60 yards. Then on the next drive for Michigan State, Aiden Childs finds freshman wide receiver Nick Marsh, who has been the 2-time Big Ten Freshman of the Week already that we've talked about here on this podcast. 20-yard touchdown, a nice 13-play, 75-yard drive that took over 7 minutes. If Michigan State can do that more consistently, they're going to be a great football team. But it only gets them within a touchdown, 24-17 at this point with 6 minutes to go in the game. But Michigan goes 3 and out. They got a punt, and it's a lousy punt. 25-yard punt to midfield. So with 4:34 to go in the fourth quarter, Michigan State gets the ball. Down by a score. Intentional grounding by Aiden Childs. That was a mistake. Nice pass to Belling at midfield. Had the little pass to Nate Carter. He didn't go down, somehow stayed up, turned it a 7-yard gain into a 30-yard gain. But then on 4th down, turnover on downs. Pass was incomplete in the end zone. Quentin Johnson in the mix there in the end zone. But there's still a minute 52 to go here at Michigan State with 3 timeouts. But Alex Orji comes back in on the next Michigan drive, and he starts running the ball. Moving the chains, keeping the ball alive until they can go into victory formation and win the game. The Paul Bunyan Trophy stays in Ann Arbor. Final score, 24-17. Michigan wins. Good fight by Michigan State, but Michigan wins. So, love to hear not only from Penn State fans who watched the Penn State win over Wisconsin, would love to hear also from Michigan and Michigan State fans and what you thought about this, as we are here live on a late Saturday night going into a Sunday morning here on Locked On Big Ten. Don't forget to check out talkbig10.com, our website afterward if you want to catch up on some more. If you're new, want to see what we're all about, we got all of our podcasts there on the website at talkbig10.com. You can see the crawl on the bottom. Go ahead. And then while you're there, we've got links to your favorite schools if you want to buy merchandise. We're less than 2 months from Christmas. You want to get some school hats and shirts, Michigan hats and Penn State shirts and pennants for your wall for Christmas for you or for somebody else. Check them out at our website, talkbig10.com. And if you're new, we get tons of subscribers every month. It's free to subscribe, though. So go ahead and subscribe. We always ask you to do it. That way you'll get us every day. You'll be part of what we're doing every day, Monday through Friday, in addition to these live shows that we do on Saturday. We put out a podcast every morning. It's on video on YouTube and on audio, wherever you get your podcast. But I always ask you to subscribe. It's free. It takes 1 second before you go. And to follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcasts. And that way you get us each and every day. All right. Ohio State had a big scare. Big scare today. Indiana and Oregon remain perfect. Indiana did it with a backup quarterback. We got all that and all the rest of the Big Ten action, plus your comments when we come back. All that in 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten, a live edition here on a Saturday night going into Sunday morning. Let me tell you about Z-Biotics. All right, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted to a toxic byproduct in the gut. And it's this byproduct, not the dehydration, that's the blame for feeling bad the next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. And you just have to remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and then you'll be good to go tomorrow. zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for whatever reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use LockedOnCollege and get 15% off at checkout. And I want to tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks Daily Fantasy. It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everybody. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players and their stats, and you got a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. So run your game all season long with Prize Picks, and you can sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's a good deal. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Think about taking Jared Goff and more than 1.5 touchdown passes and Justin Herbert less than 1.5 and pair them together. For example, that's the kind of stuff they do there with Prize Picks. So go ahead and check out Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code LockedOnCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today, the code LockedOnCollege, and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks.com. Run your game. All right, thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. Your everydayers here, Monday through Friday. Thanks for checking us out live here on a Saturday night, Sunday morning. Always appreciate it. Whatever you do, if you're new or if you're a regular, feel free to subscribe, please. It helps us out on YouTube. Share and follow and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. All right, the rest of the action around the Big Ten on Saturday. Huge scare for Ohio State. Ohio State was a 25.5-point favorite against Nebraska. Nebraska got pummeled by Indiana the week before. Nebraska had the lead in this game in the fourth quarter. Ohio State wins 21-17. I mean, the Buckeyes were coming off the bye. They didn't look that great, to be honest. And the Ohio State defense was good. I'll give them that. Their usually solid running game really didn't get going. You got to give some credit to the Huskers defense there. But a few big passing plays made the difference for the Buckeyes in this game. Will Howard with 3 touchdown passes. That was the game. If it weren't for that, they might have been in trouble. And then Jordan Hancock got an interception with a little more than a minute to go. And that sealed the deal, and that allowed the Buckeyes crowd, which was as quiet as I've heard it in a long time, very nervous, allowed them to exhale a little bit. One of the big passing plays was a 60-yarder to freshman Jeremiah Smith. He's phenomenal every week. It was his 8th touchdown catch. That ties him with Chris Carter for the most by a freshman receiver at Ohio State. The Buckeyes only converted 1 of 10 third downs today. They punted 5 times. They gave up the ball on downs, and they missed a field goal. It was not a great performance by the Buckeyes. And their banged-up offensive line took another hit. We knew going into the game that Josh Simmons was lost for the year from Oregon, the Oregon game. His replacement, Zen Mikowski, he left with an injury. They had to move a guard over to tackle. Keep an eye on this story. It's Ohio State and Penn State next week. And Ohio State's offensive line is banged up, and Penn State may be without its quarterback. We'll know more as the week goes on. So, meanwhile, a lot of interesting stuff there. And the Huskers, who were beat soundly last week, 56-7 at Indiana, they're 52-7. They're stuck on 5 wins, and they're trying to get that 6th win to become bowl eligible for the first time since 2016. They're starting to run out of games. I mean, they got some games here, but man, they've lost 27 straight against top 25 teams and 18 against ranked opponents on the road. Meanwhile, the Indiana Hoosiers, they stay perfect. They are 8-0. They're the story of the Big Ten so far this year. Indiana head coach Curt Cignetti in his first year, first coach in Division I to start 8-0 back-to-back years with 2 different teams. He did it with James Madison last year. They still haven't trailed for a single minute this year. They've won all 8 games by double figures. They're blowing people out. Although they did not hit 40 points today for the first time all year. 31, low-scoring game for the Hoosiers. And they did it with their backup quarterback, Taven Jackson. I mean, it's incredible. This is an incredible story. He stepped into the starting role. Curtis Rourke hurt his thumb last week. He had surgery on Monday. Still not sure when he's coming back. Maybe Saturday for the Michigan State game. And look, David Jackson did a good job. He didn't do a great job. They left some points on the board. Or they left some points on the field. By my guess, maybe another 17 points they could have scored. Missed opportunities in this game. But he did throw for a touchdown and he ran for another. And they relied on their power running game. In fact, they only threw 5 passes in the second half. Just ran the ball right up the gut. Justin Ellison ran 29 times today for 123 yards and a touchdown. They relied on their defense, which was outstanding. D'Angelo Pons intercepted 2 passes, including a 65-yard pick six. The Huskies have lost 3 of 4, and they've not won on the road, although their running back, Jonah Coleman, very respectable day. 19 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. And due to the Hoosiers' time-consuming drives, Washington only had 4 possessions in the entire second half. Number 1, Oregon. They beat Illinois handily, 38-9. It was a very impressive effort on both sides of the ball by the Ducks here today. That was their first game in front of their home fans since they were the number 1 team in the country. Once they were number 1, they had the Purdue game last week on the road. Dylan Gabriel threw 3 touchdowns and an interception, ran for a touchdown. Tez Johnson, 6 catches, 102 yards. The Ducks offense, 527 yards today against a pretty good Illinois defense. Gabriel moved in front of Timmy Chang for second place in the NCAA's career passing list. Case Keenum's number 1, in case you're wondering, with over 19,000 yards passing. And the Ducks defense stifled the Illini and held them to under 300 yards of offense. Luke Altmaier threw 2 picks. Sion Laulea and Tyshim Johnson had interceptions. Illinois, Tyson Brooks, he had a nice interception in that game and a bright spot for the Fighting Illini. They dropped to 6-2. They're still in pretty good shape. And they have a favorable schedule moving forward for the next 4 games. It should allow Brett Bielema to tally a few more wins here. Meanwhile, the number 1 Ducks are in Ann Arbor next week, taking on Michigan. And they've got 3 wins already against ranked opponents, and they've won 8 straight for the first time since 2013. Other games of the Big Ten, the Iowa Hawkeyes, they had 40 points again. Iowa, 40. It's the 3rd time they scored 40 this year. They beat Northwestern 40-14, but the defense threw a shutout. The 2 scores by Northwestern were special teams at a pick 6. So Caleb Johnson, again, awesome on the ground, running the ball like crazy, 109 yards and 3 touchdowns, including the 41-yard touchdown he had. He's got 6 100-yard games this year, 16 rushing touchdowns. Brendan Sullivan, the backup, came in after Cade McNamara threw the pick 6. And he had a nice key block, by the way, on another touchdown, the quarterback. So great job by the Hawkeyes. Interception from Jay Higgins and Quinn Schulte, 2 interceptions today. Northwestern had that 85-yard pick 6 that I talked about by Thoren Johnson and a 72-yard punt return by Drew Wagner. Then Minnesota, they beat Maryland 48-23, roll the boat. Max Brosmer, 4 touchdown passes. And Daniel Jackson, 9 catches, 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Elijah Spencer, 6 catches and 99 yards. It's a 3rd straight win for the Gophers. And their defense is legit. A couple more interceptions tonight. Got 15 on the year. And they're pretty good. They're pretty good on D. Maryland has dropped 3 of 4. Ty Felton had 9 catches in this game. And then let's not forget Friday, USC beat Rutgers 42-20. Both teams have been struggling. Woody Marks had 3 touchdowns. Miller Moss had 308 yards, a couple of touchdowns, throwing, ran for another. And pretty good day by Mekhi Lemon, 4 catches, 134 yards and a touchdown. For Rutgers, Ethan Kaliakmanis threw for 313 yards against the secondary for USC that was missing 4 starters. Demir Miller had 11 catches for 131 yards. Kalman Ungai with 86 yards. So, busy day around the Big Ten. I want to take a peek at some comments here live because I told you we would. And you guys, a lot of them coming in here. And let's see. PNW says Oregon is winning the Big Ten this year. Yeah, they might. They're in the driver's seat. They really are. Argros says Penn State is not super flashy, but they just go on taking care of their business. That's right. Dre is laughing at the loss for Michigan State. Hey, that was a good effort by Michigan State. Must be a Michigan fan. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of you are talking about Penn State. Good thing you got a decent backup quarterback. That's for sure. Kyle Tauser, who on Michigan State threw the first punch? Looks like whoever was lined up across. Whoever. I didn't get the name of the Michigan State guy because the scrum happened. But as soon as the game was over, there was a fight, and it was a guy holding Loveland down, and then another Michigan offensive lineman pushed the guy off, and then it was chaos at the end of the game. Kevin's a diehard Nittany Lions fan. I'm waiting, as always, for someone to say that we aren't that good or another excuse, and yet we keep winning. We are. No, Penn State's good. If you go back and look at any of our podcasts, we usually do pretty positive stories on them because they're very good. David says Penn State looks good this year, maybe better than Ohio State after their debacle today. We'll find out. And those two play next week. See what the quarterback situation is. And here's a shot at the SEC. They're not very impressive. That's good. Let's see. Oregon is destroying everybody from Cube Gamer. And the Hoosiers all the way from Don. Thank you, Don. Appreciate that. All right, keep the text coming. I appreciate it. What we're going to do here in just a second, we are going to have the nation's first look ahead at Week 10. Keep your comments coming. We'll take another peek. All that coming up in 1 minute right here on a live edition. Thanks for joining us here on Locked On Big Ten. FanDuel. You love watching games? FanDuel makes it even more exciting. Check out FanDuel, especially if you're an NFL fan. America's #1 sportsbook at FanDuel. You get a hunch. You want to check the latest stats. Want to view live play-by-play. Place your bets all on the same site. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. Sunday, I like the Lions to actually cover the big 11 points against the Titans. The Cardinals and Dolphins, Tua's coming back. Take the under 45.5 on the Falcons and Bucks. Bucks with all their receivers hurt. Take the under there, 46.5. You can do that at FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, as we're rolling here, winding it down on a live edition of Locked On Big Ten. Thank you for checking us out here today. And I don't know how. Yeah, Brian, I think we do a great job covering their Oregon Ducks. I think they're one of the most exciting teams in the Big Ten and in the country. Absolutely unbelievable. For all of our Oregon Ducks coverage, go to talkbig10.com and go to the Oregon section all day long. In fact, most of them last 2 weeks have been all Oregon Ducks right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, let's take our first look at Week 10 coming up. Indiana at Michigan State. I don't know if Curtis Rourke will be back for Indiana or not. We'll see. The word is he might be. Minnesota is at Illinois. Illinois coming off that loss from Oregon. Wisconsin is at Iowa. We'll see if Iowa can score 40 again. The big one throughout the day is Ohio State against Penn State. Big battle. This will be for a slot in the Big Ten championship. Perhaps that's the big noon game on Fox. Northwestern is at Purdue. And we'll have Oregon, #1 Oregon, at the Big House, taking on Michigan at 3:30 on CBS. UCLA at Nebraska at 3:30 on the Big Ten Network, and USC at Washington at 7:30 on the Big Ten Network. I'm not sure yet which game NBC is doing and whether we'll go live earlier or later, but I'll let you know both on Twitter at Talk Big Ten and here on our podcast throughout each of the days. Many ways for you to interact with me throughout the week. Anytime at Twitter at Talk Big Ten, also talkbig10.com, our website, and on YouTube. Keep the comments coming. And be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Thanks for joining us. I can't believe it's Week 10 already next week. We got you covered Monday through Friday and live action here on Saturday for Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for checking us out. Talk to you next time.